Welcome to this special segment of Emirates 24/7 exclusively for YouTube. What are the week's biggest headlines and how will they affect you? Emirates 24/7 has the answers.
It was a week that saw Dubai's economy in the spotlight. Analysts at a seminar organised by Dubai's Department of Economic Development forecast a growth rate of between 3 and 5% for the Emirates economy this year.
It's the first time government leaders and key industry players have come together for the Dubai Economic Outlook Summit. The DED, the Majid Al Futtaim Group, the Jumeirah Group, and the Emirates Group are just a few of the big names represented at the one-day forum.
The DED is the government body charged with setting and driving Dubai's economic agenda. The seminar is part of their commitment to effective and, most importantly, transparent dialogue with and between the public and private sectors. But what does their forecast mean for you and me? Priyanka Dutt went to find out.
Good news for Dubai's residents as experts forecast a year of economic growth. The latest figures from the city's Department of Economic Development, or the DED, predict a 3 to 5% growth for Dubai for this year. The biggest contributors, non-oil sectors like infrastructure, logistics and finance that account for 40% of Dubai's GDP.
Well, I mean, the numbers we see out of Dubai airport and the Jebel Ali numbers and the trade numbers that we do have all suggest that it's a very, very vibrant market. So, I mean, it bodes very well, I think, for the trade sector.
And while protests in the region earlier in the year slowed things down for a while, they also had an unexpected result with more and more industries and tourists coming back to the Emirate, boosting sectors like tourism, hospitality and retail.
Consumers are seeing this as an increasingly optimistic region and Dubai at the centre of that. The civil unrest within the GCC and some of the wider countries have made Dubai even more of a focus than it may once have been sort of 2 or 3 years ago. That said, jobs market is increasingly healthy, the commerce and trade segments of the industry also increasingly healthy, and retail has become a kind of side boon to that industry as well. So I think the malls are benefiting from greater consumer awareness as well.
As the turmoil kind of recedes, then Dubai starts to improve in people's perceptions, and I think that it remains a safe haven. So that should be good news for growth. There may be a delay, there may be a hit to confidence in the short term, but longer term, I think Dubai is still on track for a good 2011.
But the Dubai government's biggest plans for growth in 2011 were revealed at this seminar last week. With traditional sectors back on track, the government is now focusing on improving public-private partnership. When the biggest players from the public and private sector come together, it's a win-win situation for both. For the private sector, it means greater access to the government, more transparency. And for the government, it means a better understanding of just what policies it should implement for more growth.
The aim of the forum is to be more transparent, to share our information with the private sector, to help them to take the right decision in their businesses, in their future, and in their plan for doing business in Dubai here.
Good signals from DED. PPP is certainly an area that's been explored to some good positive effects elsewhere around the world. Some greater levels of transparency certainly coming out of the government as well. And the fact that they're encouraging new business and entrepreneurship within the retail sector specifically is very encouraging for the region.
New businesses translate to more new jobs and more spending power. And with a reduced cost of living, it also makes 2011 a great year for Dubai's residents. Priyanka Dutt, Emirates 24/7.
Priyanka Dutt reporting there. Joining us in the studio now is Dr. Mohammed Lahouel, the Chief Economist from the Department of Economic Development. Dr. Lahouel, thank you so much for joining us. I would like to begin by asking why you came up with the idea of this summit and why you called everyone together.
Well, the idea is that as Dubai's economy is recovering, we thought it was the time to strengthen and enhance the dialogue between the private sector and the public sector. The private sector wants to have visibility. The private sector wants to have an idea about how the government assesses the Dubai's economy for 2011 and how the government thinks that the economy is going to evolve. The private sector wants to have visibility, as I said. It wants to have certainty concerning the business environment, and that can be fulfilled only by the government.
Okay, now one of the major issues discussed at the summit was the issue of transparency and having great transparency. But you mentioned obviously the public-private relationship, but just in general across the economy. So how important do you see the issue of transparency being to Dubai's and the UAE's economic development?
Well, I think the roles are divided between the private sector and the public sector. The public sector and the government of Dubai in particular, they have to provide the right business environment. And when they provide the right business environment and announces its component to the private sector, then it is, of course, transparent. And transparency is extremely important for investment decisions, for decisions to expand activities. And increasingly, and I think in the past also the government of Dubai has tried to be transparent, but we are enhancing it. And we are trying to address the concerns of the private sector. The Department for Economic Development and its Director General, Mr. Kamzi, have insisted to address that the DED at least contributes to addressing the concerns of the private sector.
Now, the Emirate has become an example of diversification away from the oil trade. But what is the next step for Dubai's economic development? I know this was mentioned at the summit. What is that next step?
Well, as you know, Dubai's economy is already highly diversified. If you look at the whole region, the GCC region, then the most diversified economy is Dubai's economy. You know that oil accounts for a marginal share today of Dubai's economy. It's already well diversified. I think that maybe people made mistakes in the past. And they thought that Dubai was about the real estate sector, which is not true at all. Dubai, even 2 years ago, was highly diversified. True, the real estate sector accounted then for a high share of GDP, a high share of employment. But now we are back to a normal situation. Back to a normal situation where the traditional sectors play their important role. I mean by traditional sectors, the sector of trade, domestic and international trade, logistics, tourism, and hospitality in general. Those sectors have been actually quite dynamic, especially since the recovery towards the end of 2010. 2010, as you know, already has registered positive growth, granted modest growth, but positive growth, and we are really expecting an acceleration of growth in 2011. We are expecting, conservatively as a matter of fact, something around 4%. And during the Outlook meeting, in fact, the private sector representatives of the banking sector as well as of the real sectors felt that as government, DED was too conservative, and that they were more upbeat about the outlook for 2011 than the government was.
So hopefully good forecast all around. We'll be looking at those sectors you mentioned in particular to drive the growth in the coming year. His Excellency Ahmed Hamid Al-Tayer also came forward and said that 2011 will be a year of growth, a year of recovery, but also that it was important to find a way to balance the direct and indirect impact of the political upheavals we're seeing across the region right now. How do you think these the political upheavals will impact the economy of the UAE? I mean, there's a suggestion that perhaps it may have a positive impact, in fact, with more people looking to Dubai and the UAE as a safe haven for tourism and trade and things of this nature.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that the growth prospects of the UAE as a whole and of Dubai in particular depend on structural favorable factors. These factors are, as I said, the right business environment, including good infrastructure, policies that are conducive to growth and to development in the UAE and in Dubai. And frankly, although there might be some positive effects, some short-run positive effects from what is going on in the region, I think that we should look ahead and think in terms of structural advantages, comparative advantages, structural strengths of Dubai and of the UAE as a whole. And in the long run, beyond the short-run volatility, beyond the short-run problems resulting from the political instability in the region, what counts in the long run are the fundamentals. And the fundamentals of Dubai are right. And I think, and we think also at DED, that in the long run, if the region as a whole thrives, Dubai will thrive also.
You mentioned the fundamentals. So what specifically are those fundamentals we're looking
at? The fundamentals are, first of all, a good infrastructure that stimulates investment, that provides a good quality of life in Dubai. This is the first fundamental. The second fundamental is easing business procedures, such as registration of business, registration of land, in general, efficient public administration services. And I think that, I mean, Dubai is not perfect, but I think Dubai has made a lot of progress towards easing business and providing the business community, the private sector, with the right business climate.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lahouel, for coming in this evening.
Thank you for the invitation.
That's all we have time for on this special segment of Emirates 24/7 exclusively on YouTube. Feel free to get in touch with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts about all the top stories of the week. You can drop us a line at emirates24-7@dmi.ae or send us a message via our Facebook page, Emirates 24/7 on Dubai One. And of course, you can even message us via BBM or watch previous shows online at dmi.ae/Dubai One. And finally, you can also check us out right here at youtube.com/Dubai One. Now make sure you tune in because we'll be talking piracy and the steps the UAE is taking to keep the seas safe. And Dubai will play host to the World of Public Transport next week during the UITP Congress. We'll be jumping on board and having a closer look at the city's public transport system. But for now, from all of us here at the team at Emirates 24/7, it's goodbye.